My name's Prumihimo and I'd like to show you how to attach your ends to your kumihimo using the wired method. Now this is a really useful method. It gives you all sorts of opportunities of using different sorts of end caps, and it's a very secure method as well. And if you look at these bracelets here, you can see how you can use all sorts of different end caps in different shapes, from large to small to oval to conical, and many others. You will need to use a few wire working skills, but they're very straightforward, and you will need some pliers. But I strongly recommend learning this method. You may be happy using the glued-on method of kumihimo, but this method gives you extra opportunities and extends your skills. So I hope you'll enjoy it. For this method, these are the pieces of equipment and materials you will need. You'll need an end cone, a piece of wire, 0.8 is what I generally use, or it could be 20 gauge. That's about 10 centimeters. You need a needle, ordinary sewing needle with some strong thread. You need a set of pliers, so that will include your round nose, your flat or chain nose, and wire cutters. You'll need a clasp and a jump ring. You'll need a little extra bead, that's optional. You might want a cork, pair of scissors. Again, you might need a big needle, and just some ordinary all-purpose adhesive. So the first part of the wired-on method is sealing the end of your braid. The first thing I'm going to recommend is optional. It's a little binding. And you do that with a needle and thread, nice strong thread, and quite simply secure the thread in the braid by running through it several times. I'm just going to leave a tail like that, and then I'm just going to sew through it several times. It doesn't matter where, you just want them in the same part of the braid. This is going to be invisible under your end cone, and you just want to go through as many times as necessary so that when you pull on that cord really strongly, it doesn't move. Then hold the tail down and wrap round 6 or 7 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then just hold the thread with your finger underneath and just go through a couple of times, obviously not near your finger. And you're just again securing the thread in the braid. Now this is optional. I do recommend it with the wired-on method because the wire needs to be held in place firmly. You're also going to glue this, and that can be sufficient on its own, so that is a matter of judgment for you. So I'm just going through a few times like that, and now what I can do is snip those ends close to the braid without any knots. So that is my binding. Then what I want to do, this part is not optional, the glue is necessary, I'm just going to glue that. And I'm going to use an all-purpose glue. It could be a fabric glue. It doesn't really matter too much what it is. The whole idea is it's just going to keep those fibres in place. And so what I'm going to do is apply my glue straight from the tube onto that binding so that it sinks in. And I'm going to put just a fraction towards my fingers and then further out. So it doesn't matter how much glue goes further out because this is going to be snipped off. You don't want too much glue going that way. And you want your glue to sink into those fibres and secure them so that you can snip them into shape. So once the glue has dried, you can trim that end close to the binding so that it will fit your cone. And you'll need to think of having a little bit of space at the end where the wire will go. So my cone will fit about like that. And then what you need is to take your 10 centimetre piece of wire and you're going to pierce the braid on this side of the binding. You do need to be careful of your hand, so it can be helpful just to hold a little cork behind and just pierce the braid going into the cork. There we go. If some braids will be stiffer than others, you can use a thick darning needle if necessary, with a nice point on it to make that hole first of all. But in most cases you'll find you'll just be able to push through with the wire. Once you're through, push about 2 centimetres, a centimetre and a half to 2 centimetres through, and then bend the wire up. Now it really depends on your cone as to what you're going to fit in. In some cases your cone may be very snug, in which case you can just bend the end of your wire over slightly and trim it off. Or if you've got a triangular cone as I have, you can do more of a twist at the top. So all I'm doing is with my hands, or it could be done with your pliers, I'm just twisting a couple of times. Then I'm going to trim off that end. Be very careful obviously with wire, your eyes should be protected there. Straighten out my wire, and then I'm going to put my cone on. Now initially it may be not fit quite like that, so you can manipulate that wire with your flat nose pliers and just squeeze it in. So a little bit of manipulation may be necessary, so that you can get your end into the cone. Let's see if that works now. And then push it down. And you can use your pliers just to pull it down as far as possible. There we go, that covers everything. Now, you've got your one straight piece of wire like that. I like to top off with a little bead. So this is a size 6 bead that I'm just popping on the end. And now I'm going to do a wrapped loop. So to do that, I take my round nose pliers and I grip the wire slightly in from the tip. Then I pull the wire towards me, and then I change the grip of my pliers. So now I hold the top of that bend, and I wrap the wire around, right the way round the round nose pliers, so that I have almost like a sort of question mark. Now I change the grip again and put my pliers into that hole, into that hook, and I complete the circle, and then I wrap the wire as neatly as possible from this end down to the bottom, to the bead, around the wire. And then, so that gives me a wrapped loop, and then I trim that off. Again, being very careful of flying wires. I trim it off close to the wrap, and then use my flat nose pliers just to nudge it into position so that there are no rough ends. So that gives me my wrapped loop. Then to attach my clasp, I take a jump ring, and jump rings you always open like a door. So you don't rip them open, you open so the ends go past each other, and you close them in the same way. So I hold one side of the jump ring with my pliers, and now I'm just going to pop the clasp on. Any sort of clasp will do. And then I take my other pair of pliers and just grip the end there, and then bring them close together, twisting my wrist to do so. And that is how you attach your clasp using wire. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed that and found it useful. I hope it'll be the starting point for you finding lots of different ways of wiring on your kumihimo ends. I've got lots of other ideas I'd like to show you, so if you're interested in seeing those, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, because then you'll be notified of when I upload new videos. In the meantime, do take a look at my website, prumihimo.com, where you'll find all sorts of information covering every aspect of kumihimo on discs, on plates, and on my own disc. So until the next time, goodbye.